Good afternoon, everyone. It's been quite a while since I've made a video. I've had a lot of irons in the fire, been extremely busy, but I'd like to start getting some back out there again. And then once my calendar opens up, my clock opens up a little bit more, and even start coming out with some other ones. But I wanted to talk for a couple minutes about some things that are going on right now that I've just been watching and listening to what people have been saying, and lightly touch on the Charlie Kirk murder, and then go with the E-Files and all that kind of stuff, because I watched a documentary recently on Netflix. It was a 4-part series. If you haven't seen it, might be worth watching. It was Jeffrey Epstein, Filthy Rich, it was called. 4-part series, like I said, on Netflix. And I want to address things from the viewpoint of where some people stand. I'm not going to mention anyone by names, but this whole Christ is King thing really kind of, as a pagan, the northern pagan, that really rubs me, because you could take someone who you perceive to be relatively intelligent and providing you with facts and details and investigatory steps that are being taken, and then they come out and say things like that and affiliated it with either children or Kirk or whoever, because it just makes no sense. It really detracts from any intelligence level that you had maybe given them. And the reason I say this, and I'm going to associate it there first with all of the Abrahamic religions, is because first, in the Old Testament Bible, you have Numbers 31:17-19, where it says, by divine command, that the Israelites can take children as their slaves. And that is their whole premise for being able to engage in that disgusting philia that is given to them by divine command, or the writers of the Bible had their God give it to them by divine command, if you follow my meaning there. And when people say that, well, Christ is King, well, you got to remember that he never took any of that away. As a matter of fact, he said, if you've seen the Father, you've seen the Son, and he and the Father are one. So all of these things that people want to say are taken away by their Jesus are not. And that's why you see them carried into the church. Once the church is combined with the world's most powerful military, the Roman Empire, they engaged in that pedo actions with children, with young children. And there is no protection granted to them. The same thing. So you have Judaism, you have Christianity, and the same thing with Islam, to follow it through with Muhammad. His wife was 6 years old or something to that regard. So this whole Christ is King thing that they chant like a mantra makes them look silly, because if you want to apply that to Charlie Kirk, well, where was their king? And then there was so much ridiculousness that came out about that. Now let's convert it over to what's going on with the E-Files and the island and all of the politicians, because it really becomes one big swirling pot of mud is what it becomes. And remembering that the giants they engage in giants games, and looking at this from northern pagan perspectives, that is what they want to do. They want to keep that niffle, that fog. You don't know really what's going on, because they create this Loki fog, this trickery, this deception to pull over your eyes so you can't see clearly. But then they tell you that, well, our side is going to reveal the files. No, our side is going to reveal the files. Just think back when Biden was in office. All the MAGA people were saying, show us the files, show us the files. Then nothing was released. And then you have Trump get in office. On one of the premises he was elected on was he was going to release the files. then there's nothing to see here. And all the Democrats are now saying, release the files, release the files. Mark my words, no matter what happens in American politics, no one will release those files. No one will. There is too much dirt on too many people. And if you watch that documentary and the final episodes, episode 4, they reveal just how many cameras. They show how many cameras Jeffrey E. had set up in his homes. He was recording everything and everybody, all of their dirty deeds. Now, if you're a Trump supporter, then you're going to be thinking, well, he said he wasn't there. Doesn't matter. I don't care. You know what? People can say what they want. Release the files and let us determine. Now, there's not going to be a list of names, but again, episode 4, it shows how many videos and how many photographs that the investigators, the FBI took out of his New York City residence. There was bags upon bags. So they have the videos of who was involved in that pedo behavior, who was involved in that trafficking. So how does this apply to Northern paganism? Well, let me just read something to you. This is some of the translations of the book that I've been involved in one of the irons in the fire. In Thrimskvitha, remember, Thor had his hammer stolen by Thrym, the Lord of the Giants, he's called. He has Thor's hammer in the Darklands, in the Giants' lands, okay? Stands on 11 states, and this is my retranslation. Going, beautiful Freya, to find all those, or that speaking, all first stated. Bridal thou, Freya, bride's linens and garments, we too shall drive or convey to in the giants' homes. Okay, so he wants Freya. He wants the young maiden. Freya states, now take thy bear alone off the altars. Let him run with my wild bear. Slow is my bear, treading on the road of the gods, which see my worthy load. Now remember, the worthy load is Lodfafnir, Lodfabir, the fabled load, and it is childbirth. It is the renewal, the rebirth of things. Now let's go to stanza 12. Thrimskvitha still. Wroth became Freya, and snorted with rage. The entire god's hall beneath had shaken. Slippery or icy, it incited, magnifying necklace Brazinga. Much known worth to be lustful if I with thee in the giant's home. So Thrym had the hammer and wanted Freya, the young girl that represents fertility and the rebirth of our valiant ancestors into the young. Okay, so what happens? Thor comes to the rescue. Thor is the protector of young children. So this is where our lore separates itself. Another area. I mean, it separates itself in many areas, but it separates itself because the Bible, whether it's Old Testament or New Testament, the Quran with Islam, they use children in that very specific way. And E. Island and the E. Files and his homes and all this kind of stuff and all of his filthy wealth that was trafficking in the Freyas out there would not have happened. Thor would have been the protector. This does not happen in Northern paganism. Case, end of story, case closed. Thor takes Freya's place to go get his own hammer back. They will not allow Freya to be subjected to that. Now, I want you to take that whole story that's conveyed with Thor putting on the wedding dress and the keys in the front and traveling through the dark lands to get to Thrym to save Freya and her honor to get his hammer back. And you compare that to what the swamp is showing. And that swamp is both sides of the aisle. That swamp is showing protect the pedos, protect the people that were trafficking, the people that partook, that bought, the people that were engaged in this activity. Just if you would release the files, you would take on the spirit of Thor, protecting the young, protecting the maidens that are out there. But they're not doing that. So what do you do when election day comes? No matter who you vote for, you stand the potential of voting for someone like Thrym. Doesn't matter what party prefix you attach to that. You may be casting your vote for a Thrym who's a pedo giant looking for our maiden goddess Freya. That answer is entirely up to you. I know what I'm going to do, and that is I am not going to risk a Thrym. So I'm going to try to make some more videos, try to put things into context from a northern paganism perspective, because you have a lot of lies. You have a lot of deception and trickery that is wrapped around this self-righteousness of a Christian or indignation of an Israelite or Abrahamic or a Jew or a Muslim. But the bottom line is no one's getting us any closer to truth. It's all Loki. It's all Giant Land. So until next time, or till's nesta gone, good health.